You know, there very rarely comes across a game quite like Dead Cells. Dead Cells has been an obsession of mine for the past this past week, quite frankly. And I've got to be honest, I've loved every second of this game. This is my Dead Cells review, and you're going to be seeing some gameplay that I recorded, and I'm going to be basically giving my thoughts on the game. And I'm looking forward to fucking doing this. So let's go. So basically, in Dead Cells, you play as this prisoner that's been beheaded. His severed head has basically crawled into this cave sewer-like area, and he's awoken seeing the guillotine that took his head, and he's obviously a bit confused as to how he's still alive. And the whole objective of the game really is to journey through several different worlds and collect a bunch of upgrades and defeat a bunch of enemies and bosses. And it is a very Castlevania or Metroidvania-esque like game. Plenty of interesting things that you can do in it. The enemies are just so many in terms of variety. You feel like you're really going into something new each time, which you really essentially are. The game generates randomly generated kind of areas each time you die or start again from a new run. Which keeps the content extremely fresh in this game. And that is something I find a lot of these games tend to lack, is that they become repetitive after a while, and they may feel like they're just getting quite tedious. But I gotta be honest, I never felt that once with Dead Cells. It just constantly kept me invested. And that is something, it's very hard to do with me nowadays. I get very lost in a lot of games, and to be honest with you, I found Dead Cells just constantly kept me going. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that about this game. As you can see, there are little shops that you can enter as well in the game, where you can buy several different versions of weapons. You do get more weapons later on as you keep going. The game essentially throws an upgrade system at you at the end of each room, which you can generate your cells into basically, and they can become you can buy new items basically with them, like new weapons, new mutations. Mutations are essentially this way of adding buffs to yourself, and you can unlock a lot of them in the game as well. A lot of it realistically is just finding it in the game, finding all these different upgrades that are dropped from enemies. You can find them in a lot of the areas, you know, as treasure chests and stuff like that, where you can find a new weapon or whatever. But you won't be able to like have that weapon properly until you get a blueprint for it, I think. That's what I've come to realize anyway with the game. There's absolutely tons of areas. These maps are huge, and if you think about it, if you're having a randomly generated map every time, that's nuts, the amount of depth and detail that goes into this. Like, absolutely crazy, the amount of stuff that's there. And I loved that about this game. Absolutely adored it. It just kept feeling fresh. I never got bored with it. You know, I just never got bored with doing stuff. And that was amazing for me, because I love games like that. As you can see here, this is kind of a little glimpse into the collector area, and these are where you put your cells into. As you can see here, I'm unlocking a few outfits that I got earlier, but there's a bunch of stuff like mutations and weapons, and it's so much fun. Here you can reforge your weapons, make them even stronger. I'm a very tactical based build guy when I was playing this game. I very much love tactics. And that got me through the game really well. But you could the whole point is you can experiment a ton with this, and you could just go crazy. Like, the creativity is ridiculous. The amount of areas is ridiculous, but in the best way possible, you know? And it's just I could sit here and talk about it for ages, but it's so much freaking fun. Absolutely so much fun. It's tailored to any kind of playstyle as well. Like, the game can get really hard later on once you've beaten it. Like, it took me a little while to get a hang of it and like figure out a build which worked for me. And then I basically, once I beat the game, you actually once you beat the game, you get like boss cells, and these boss cells you put into this little area at the start of the game, and you can it adds a new level of difficulty, essentially a bunch of new tougher enemies, tougher restrictions as well. Like I find once the boss cells actually go up, you don't get as many healing refills at the end of the stage, which I found very punishing when I tried my first one boss cell run. I actually managed to get to the Hand of the King, and I got screwed because I didn't have a health refill at the end. But it's all part of the process for this game. It is absolutely all part of the process. Finding treasures and stuff, and optimizing the best kind of run. It's all part of the process with Dead Cells, and that was always the real enjoyable factor for me with this game, for sure. Also, a little bit of a side note onto like Bad Seed. I don't have any Bad Seed gameplay here, unfortunately, for you, because I kind of tossed this all together earlier, because it's kind of like, I'm still learning this whole editing process. I'm using like a new program, but basically, the Bad Seed DLC is adds a bunch of like new locations. It adds like this, I think a second stage biome, I think it is, or first stage, whether you count the starter area as a first stage. It's probably, I think it's a first stage biome, which is like the dilapidated arboretum, I think it is. Fucking hard area. You fight these like fungi mushroom things, and a lot of the enemies hit really hard. And then you've got the Morris of the Banished, which is like even worse. It's like you throw this massive enemy at you at the start, which can just kill you like super quick if you're not prepared. Again, the joys of Dead Cells. Absolutely the joys of Dead Cells. And it's those kind of things that keep me coming back with a game like this. I do rage at games. I mean, of course I do. But it never felt unfair with Dead Cells. It never felt like it was like getting to me too much. I just wanted to get back in and do it again, which I think a lot of people have said about this game, is that you just want to get back in and keep going with it. Each stage has its own gimmick as well. Like you can pick up like keys in a stage and stuff, and find these hidden treasures. Like there was like a rose key I had there, like a gardener's key, I think it was. You can find like 3 of them in a stage and open like 3 doors, and like one of them when you first start is like a weapon blueprint, I think, and then after that it's just something a little less rare, but still quite worth it if you feel like wanting to kind of indulge yourself into it, which is really cool. Definitely really cool. The runes as well, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. The runes, there are like these runes you can collect throughout the game which give you abilities. Like that one there a minute ago was a teleportation rune, that allows you to use those little tombstone things and basically travel to a new area, which you wouldn't be able to access before. There's a spider rune, which allows you to climb up and wall run, basically. And that gets you to other areas, like the Slumbering Sanctuary, I think, and like the graveyard and stuff. You need like the spider rune to like wall run up to those areas. But it's just so much here. There's absolutely so much here. A little bit of a kind of, I don't really know if you could class it as a spoiler, because it's more like I'm kind of like reviewing the game anyway. But I suppose spoiler warning if you don't want to hear about like to do with something you get for beating the final boss. You've been warned anyway. But you get like this, I forgot what it was called now, but it's this rune where you can detach your head from your body and stick it to things. Like you can get things that are really hard to reach before and like get new blueprints and stuff. And there's another one where you can like stick it to enemies and stuff as well, and it slows them down. I find myself never using it though. It's not really that useful. But it's something if you want to get some treasure in the game, for sure. It's something very cool. I don't really know what else to say. I absolutely, if you haven't told already, I absolutely love this game. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it, which is funny considering this is a review. You'd think you'd be able to pick out a couple of negatives, but there's not a lot I can say about Dead Cells, which is bad. The game is just so good, you know what I mean? It's so... oh, it's just so rich on content. I find it very hard to get like, I find it very hard to find any negatives of a game like this. I mean, you know, maybe some people would find it a little repetitive after a while, but I haven't. I haven't found anything really repetitive about it, to be honest. Maybe one thing is locking costumes behind boss cells, maybe. Because I know you got to get more boss cells later to get certain costumes in the game. Can make getting a lot of the costumes you like pretty difficult to get. So that's something I suppose maybe that could be a slight gripe, but then again, it's not really much of a of a negative. I mean, if you're a hardcore gamer and you want to go ahead and get higher level costumes, like challenge yourself more, then it's probably really perfect for you. Another thing there you just saw is that don't ever fall for that door with the collector saying that you need to spend all your cells. Don't fall for that shit, it's fake. I found that out as well online. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, here's a little bit of a show of one of the bosses, the concierge. What a douche. This boss is a douche. But you'll see now, once I tactic build like hell, it becomes ridiculously, you become ridiculously overpowered. And a boss like this doesn't really, bosses don't really hurt you as much anymore once you get tactically advanced. Which is why, in a sense, you got boss cell difficulties. They really add a lot to the game. And these bosses become deadly. They take off like half your health in one hit. So I don't recommend freaking getting in a struggle with one of them. I really don't recommend it unless you feel really confident about how the game works. All in all, guys, if you haven't known already, I absolutely adore Dead Cells. I think it is an incredible game. I think there's so much here that you need to get this game. It's not a lot to buy anymore, so it's really it's quite cheap, and it's worth every freaking penny. It's on sale right now as well. Why are you still listening to me? Go get the game. It's so much fun. Honestly, guys, it's brilliant. Play the hell out of this game. It's been out for a little bit now, but Bad Seed got added like a couple months ago. You need to go and play it. Honest to God, I can't recommend this game enough to you. If I would give this game a score, I would probably give it a solid 9, because I just think it's awesome. And I think it's just one of the best Metroidvania-esque games I've ever played. And I think that is a massive compliment. And I think the developers have done a fantastic job here. And yeah, that really wraps up my review, guys. We're coming to the end of my footage now, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my first review. It's kind of a mix between a review and a gameplay overview. It's a more relaxed take on a review, but I hope you enjoyed it. It's my first journey into this kind of territory on YouTube. So yeah, I really hope you like this. I really hope you did, because I really enjoy doing it, actually. And I hope to see you again soon for another review. I've got a bunch of stuff in the works, potentially. And I can't wait to showcase it to you guys. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching. And I hope you all have an awesome day. And be sure to stay tuned and subscribe for more new content coming up in the future. Because I've got, as I said, a bunch of stuff planned. And I can't wait to show it off. So, once again, guys, thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed. Dead Cells gets a 9 out of 10. If I haven't said it enough already, go and play this game. It is worth every penny, and you will not be disappointed. Take care, guys. Thanks very much, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.